Hey, what's going on, y'all? Big Sarge here. On Tuesday, we had an opportunity to speak with Houston Rockets head coach Ime Udoka and general manager Rafael Stone. And during that exit interview press conference, this question was asked.
Both of you guys, there's a decent amount of lineup data that suggests this team has performed better without Jalen Green on the court this season. How much do you incorporate that kind of data into your decision making process moving forward, be it roster construction, coaching decisions, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a really flawed question. So like we have there's great data that we have and we use, but and I can one of my you may would know one of my favorite things I tell them when we have new coaches join, one of my favorite things to tell them is I can make data say whatever I want it to say, and so I think. We heavily use it, but we're very careful to try and really parse it out. And I would say that I would say that some of our very best lineups include him, and so that piece by itself, I just think that's just not correct.
That was the question asked by Locked On Rockets host Jackson Gatlin. And I understand the question. I do. I understand the question. And one of the reasons why I understand the question more than some others is Jackson and I had that conversation. I think it was pre-game, game 5 in the media workroom, him, myself, and 2 other people. And that was after he had said that the Jalen Green experiment is over. So I asked him, what did he mean by that? And he used that data. So what I said was, I understand. I understand your analytical standpoint. I understand you're using the data, but I'm using my eyes and I see things totally different. And like the data that you gave me was pure raw data, but there's something else that needed to be thrown in there to clarify that data that wasn't in there. And this is the same thing that I talked to Jackson about. So I don't want you all to think that I'm trying to attack Jackson. I'm just telling you all that we've had this conversation before. And now that the question was asked to both gentlemen at the press conference and you seen the answer that was given, I want to throw something else in there, right? I want to throw something else into the raw data that seems to be left out that changes that data for me. All right, so we know that Jalen Green played in all 82 games this season. He played in every game in the regular season. That's including the 6 games that Alperen Şengün missed, the 22 games Fred VanVleet missed, the 13 games that Ahmed Thompson missed, the 7 games that Dylan Brooks missed, the 25 games Jabari Smith Jr. missed, and the 25 games Tari Eason missed. So now, there's times when Jalen is in the game with different lineups with people he's not used to playing with. When you're playing with the starting 5 and you're used to playing with the starting 5 and you're used to doing things one way, and if that was the case with this data, I can understand it. I can understand it. But you're saying that the team is worse when he's on the court. Okay, so look how many games that Fred VanVleet missed with injury. Look how many games Ahmed Thompson missed due to injury. That means that Jalen had to do something this season that he had not done on a consistent basis since middle school. You know how I know that? I asked him that, and he told me I have not had to be on the ball like that playing point guard since I was in middle school. And so now you make him the primary ball handler. Teams adjusted to that. Teams did to him exactly what the Golden State Warriors did to him in this playoff series. And when he first started playing the point guard position, it was new to him. So of course he wasn't used to initiating the offense. Of course he was on a consistent basis. Of course he wasn't used to doing the things that a point guard had to do. He had to learn how to do these things. I think the things that a thing that gets lost a lot is that a lot of you all think that just because you play guard, you should be able to play a certain type of way. No, a shooting guard is a shooting guard. A shooting guard doesn't initiate the offense. A point guard does. Sarge, all you're doing is making excuses for Jalen Green. Well, you tell me when the last time you've seen him in his professional career play this much point guard as he did this past season. Don't worry, I'll wait. You know, another thing that I have is the ability to be able to talk to players who played the point guard position. And Fred VanVleet said, it's not easy trying to make a shooting guard a point guard. He said, as a point guard, I see the floor way different than what he does. And so I know where Alpie's going to be. I know where he's going to be. I know where Amin's going to be. I know where Jabari, I know where Dylan's going to be. I know all of these things. Jalen does not. Jalen knows the position on where he's supposed to be and where the players are supposed to be in the play, but he doesn't initiate the offense. And so when you have him on the floor initiating the offense with players out and him playing with different lineups and different people that's in there, even when they put Aaron Holiday in to start and had him off the ball, that's still different because Aaron Holiday is not used to playing with Jalen Green. So while I understand that you want to use this metric, you want to use these analytical stats, you also have to take into account that nobody else started all 82 games from that starting five except Jalen Green. And so on numerous occasions, there were different players in and out of the lineup. The offense also had to change with Jalen being the point guard, who's normally not a facilitator. The offense has to change because now he has to run everything. So just like what General Manager Rafael Stone said, that's a flawed question. I agree. I feel like if you're going to use that type of data, right? If you're going to throw that in there, then what you need to do is put it in totality. Throw everything in there and say, the data says this. And I understand that he had to play some of the point guard position when players were out. He was a facilitator when players were out and playing in different lineups. Now you add that caveat in there. Now the question has to be answered in a different way. That's all I'm saying. This isn't no personal shot at Jackson. I promise you it's not. And I'm only saying that is because him and I had this conversation, right? And to be fair, he didn't solely agree with what I was saying, but he understood the exact same way I did. We had a conversation. So all I want to say is when you're thinking about that question and you're listening to that answer, also remember that Jalen Green being on the court in different lineups with different people. And I know y'all say, oh man, it's just basketball. They're all teammates. No, these players play a certain way. You got to remember that, right? Big Sarge, I'm out.